people, welcome back to my channel. So I was having a conversation with my friends yesterday. He mentioned a friend of his that used to have regular checkups. Every time he checks, he's probably fine. He was trying to explain to me that there are people who make it a problem to ridicule those who actually do all those regular checks and stuff. They feel like it's a waste of money and a lot of those stuffs. Now, people have choices to do whatever they want with their money. To you, it's expensive. To them, it might not be. Regardless, they feel it is really important. I understand completely if you don't do regular checks because it's expensive and because you don't have the money. But it would be wrong for you to make someone feel bad just because you think it's a waste of money. You never really know how cheap it is until you actually have a disease and you realize that it is even more expensive to cure than to prevent. You see, a lot of people spend so much time trying to impress people with the kind of phones they use, the way they dress, and all of those stuffs. And I noticed that whenever people have sicknesses or diseases, as long as it doesn't affect their physical appearance or how they look, they're not going to do anything about it. They rather spend time focusing on the shoe that is bad or the shirt that is looking a bit some way. I'm not saying you shouldn't change your apparels. I'm not saying you shouldn't change the things you wear. But I'm just saying that many people focus on the things on their body that probably have no effect on their lives than the things in their body. I mean, someone can be walking around with very beautiful clothes, expensive clothes, and a bad kidney or a non-functional heart. It's a bit weird. I know you can't spend all your money on health and stuff, but again, there are basic things you need to take care of. You rather carry a Chanel bag or a heel worth hundreds or thousands of dollars than going to check a disease you have. Some people are walking petri dish of diseases and they are not going to do anything about it. They'll never talk about it. They'll never see someone about it. As long as they're not bedridden, well, they move on. And that's really bad. There's nothing bad about bragging about the type of phones you use or the type of equipment you have. As long as you're completely fine, it's your money, you can brag about it. But if you're using those things and your health is completely in disarray, I honestly don't understand it. Again, I cannot judge people who do that, but what I think is you can have a balance. The life that people see and the life that's in you. I saw this story on Twitter. I have no way of verifying if the story is true, but that doesn't sound like a non-popular occurrence. That this girl had hypertension. This blood pressure is too high. You should go check yourself in a hospital. You should see a doctor for it. And she laughed about it and didn't do anything about it. Apparently, she died. You know how people do not see that the things you refer to as little things could become really big, but just because their names are not big or they don't act as big as the other diseases, they are still killers. I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of some of these things. I learned some of these things over time. I try to incorporate them in my life. These things became clearer. Very small cases that on a normal day when you hear them, you shouldn't think they're a problem. And they end up being the problem to those people. Hell, I even saw someone in a hospital. This person had stroke. He had a stroke in the middle of the night, but his family did not notice. Tricky side of it. It was a Saturday, so they just assumed he was oversleeping. And when he wasn't up by 11, that's when they got scared. They tried waking him up. He was breathing, he looked fine on the bed, but he couldn't move. The doctor knew that this man might, I'm not saying will, might probably never wake up again. But the family had to keep up hope. Apparently, he was on some drugs that he didn't really take seriously. When they give you some drugs, or because you're used to paracetamol, you just feel, oh, this disease is not so big. Sometimes, it might have happened to someone and you just feel that, oh, the person did this and then he ignored it, nothing happened to him, he's still alive today. Your own case might be different and then you just kick the bucket. Remember that prevention is more expensive than curing.